We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras and some. We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras and some. We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras and some. We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras and some. We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras and some. We used our scanner, which has 90 cameras.
No.
Machine vision cameras to track certain things and collect references. But it's on this project it was fairly straightforward photogrammetric system. We used Agisop to reconstruct 90 camera angles. We also had some very nice LED lighting system that we built. But I think for this project, data processing itself was actually much more interesting because it's using our pipeline for tracking features. We also had some very nice LED lighting system that we built. But I think for this project, data processing itself was actually much more interesting because it's using our pipeline for tracking features. We also had some very nice LED lighting system that we built. But I think for this project, data processing itself was actually much more interesting because it's using our pipeline for tracking features. We also had some very nice LED lighting system that we built. But I think for this project, data processing itself was actually much more interesting in textures. So as you can see, I've just made two screenshots of two facial expressions, and it's showing vectors where we see motion in the textures. So this texture analysis allowed us to create very precisely tracked of correspondence between individual scans, which then resulted as very high resolution, very precise planches. And the thing doesn't stop there because we can do even further iteration of this correspondence process so that we can extract fine detail, which is really poor level detail, from which we can learn about the wrinkles, and we can also learn about the blood flow. Again, due to limited time, I can't show all the details, but judging from those two screenshots, you can see the level of precision we can currently operate. Maybe on the screen grab where she frowns, you can see that the tone of the skin is different, and that we can see the level of yellow parts where blood has left the skin due to pressure, and some red parts where she collected. You can see that. So we take a subset of scans. We call them primary expressions. I guess other people call them red parts. And we kind of take these primary wrinkles and we collect them into wrinkle maps, and they all work very nice because they're corresponded. So we see the change on the pore level, how they stretch, how primary wrinkles, and we collect them into wrinkle maps. And on this project in particular, they're corresponded. So we had this sprayed face paint, which Ninja Theory came up with, and it was specifically designed to crack this project. So that was very interesting. The first time we tried our technology on something like this, So you can actually see the chips of the paint was specifically designed, being created. So that was very based on the first time we tried out direction something like this. So you can actually see the chips of the paint. After we get the blend shapes from the process being created based on texture analysis, we do get a set, all depending on the project. Sometimes we get 10, 15, sometimes 40, sometimes about 100, but we get a certain set of blend shapes. And these blend shapes are all FACS-based. And I'm not going to go in depth on FACS, but suffice to say that FACS is a recognized standard which basically says that facial expressions in humans are universal. So if we 3D scan the expression of a certain muscle, then we can build a standard biomechanical model of how this face moves in other expressions that we can scan. So we can't obviously scan all of them. 3D scan, and people are not really used to activating a single muscle individually, so there's bound to be some errors. And so limited number of errors means that you have to go through a manual pass and correct and calibrate some of these things, and also build some of the secondary blend shapes manually. This can easily become very complicated thing to do because we have to visualize things contextually, and we have to follow each vertex and what it does when it's triggered in this combination versus the other. So in order to help with this complexity, we've built this visualizing system in Maya, which is node-based and which allows us to select individual facial expressions, and it tells us the dependencies in the rig. I've actually recorded a short video visualizing system in Maya, which shows some of this process. So as I select those nodes, it tells us the dependencies, and we can browse through this contextual network and check how this which shows blend shapes behave not only individually but also in combination with other blend shapes, which basically means how they will behave in the animation. So this consistency in motion is very important, and we take a lot of effort to have that correct. And here I show just that we can work on the blend shape, and we have a real-time assembled version of the rig, and so we can, as we change individual blend shapes, we can see how they're affecting everything else. And here I show just that we can work on the blend shape, and we have a real-time assembled version of the rig, and so we can, as we change individual blend shapes, we can see how they're affecting everything else. And here I show just that we can work on the blend shape, and we have a real-time assembled version of the rig, and so we can, as we change individual blend shapes, we can see how they're affecting everything else. Here I show just that we can work on the blend shape, and we have a real-time assembled version of the rig, and so we can, as we change individual blend shapes, we can see how they're. It's just animation preference. But anyway, rig logic is basically taking this standard user interface, and it's mapping it to a group of rig elements, which can be anything. It can be joints or blend shapes, it can be wrinkle maps, diffuse, specular, normal, or it can be some data sets which are not yet standard. So we've made this level of abstraction so that we remain flexible in the future what if new data types arrive. So this rig logic is also, I'm kind of connecting on the facts and human facial expression being universal. We're trying to abstract these things. So this logic is basically parameterizing things, which means that if this person blinks, then if we map that animation on some other face, the same animation curve should create a blink, nothing else. Which means that rig logic is ensuring that you can actually share animations between characters. Then if we map, just a very short video demonstration of the rig in action. So we have here built a DirectX shader just to be able to preview the animated wrinkles and to see them in real time as a help for the animation. It's not pretending to be the final stage. So that's how the interaction with the rig looks like. We've tried to, I think we actually managed to build it so that it's fun to animate as a keyframe rig, but you can also build solvers, that's how optical motion capture, or we've tried to build solvers which cubic motion so that experts have that will map to these controls. So being universal is very important. Even when we create animal rigs, we'll base it on this interface. Maybe we won't have all the facial expressions, but the main ones like smiling and the nose wrinkler and the eyebrows, that's all universal. We'll base it on this interface. Maybe we won't have all the facial okay, so I wanted to talk about the rig logic. So we use Maya in our studio, and this is how it used to be. So we had some animation inputs, which could be coming from anywhere. Okay, so then they're talking to rig logic, which is then talking to rig elements, and it's telling them what to do. And that was all fine for some time, but when we started having massive data sets, then programming rig logic in Maya was becoming complicated. So then we figured, instead of trying to change Maya, because that would be impossible, but when we started having massive data sets, came up with this strategy, and that is to move out. So then we figured, instead of trying to change Maya, because that would be impossible, we move it out of Maya and make it a standalone application. And this allowed us to be much quicker with the programming, and it started being evaluated really fast. So next step is then to move even, and this allowed us to be much quicker with the programming, and then we moved out the even big elements to other applications, in this case Unreal Engine. So we can actually talk from Maya to rig logic outside of Maya, and then rig logic will talk to the engine. And in this case, on this demo, we have completely abandoned, so we can actually talk. And from Maya, the application that actually talked to rig logic was the application that Cubic Motion wrote, that just talked to our rig logic server, and it just requested certain tax expressions to be solved, and then rig logic solved it and sent it to Cubic Motion. And this works really nice and really fast, and it basically rig logic server going to create some sort of a standard that can be used for other expressions. For example, we can expand it, and we actually already have. So rig logic can become a cloud solution, and that means that rig logic can be very complicated to evaluate. For example, sometimes it's not, but in the future it definitely will be. And this basically means that we could stream solved animation to a mobile device that maybe would otherwise not be able to perform such calculations. That becomes really interesting, because then imagine having a bunch of engines and bunch of animations, all with different phases, but using one single animation, which is very light data that can be streamed over network. And that's going to be something for the future, but definitely something that we're very excited about. And I just wanted to to show a video of Maya talking to the engine and telling Senua which facial expressions, but definitely something that we're very excited about. And so this works. It's completely in sync between Maya and the engine, but it doesn't have to be Maya; it can be anything else. So I think this works even without everything else. This is very useful because you can see the character inside the engine with the shaders, but it doesn't have to be Maya; it can be anything else. So I think this works even without everything else. This is very useful because you can see the character inside the engine with the shaders. And yeah, I will wrap up my part with this. Thank you. So I think this even without everything else, this is very useful because you can see the character inside the engine with the shaders. And yeah, I will wrap up my part with this. Thank you. So I think
Can you hear me now? I'm Brian Karras from Epic Games. I'm a graphics programmer there. I'm going to be talking about how we got this data running in Unreal and looking good there. Can you hear me now? First, I'll talk a bit about the animation features. Most of them already existed in Unreal for this demo, but we did add a few new features that were specific. First of which was streaming of live data, some of which has already been talked about from the 3 lateral node from Rig Logic to the engine. We also use the iKinema for the body motion. That would take a small number of bones coming from the mocap stream, turn that into the full body rig to drive that, as well as doing a small number of bones, changing that from the mocap stream, turn that into the full proportions of the meld actress to the proportions of Senua, the character in engine. Changing that from we found that the normals that were being generated by our morph target system before, it was previously doing blending of the normals for each shape, was not giving us quality results. We instead added a new feature in the engine to recompute the normals and the tangents of the final resulting pose of all of those morph targets. That's happening on the GPU. It's pretty fast, but it gives you what you would have been seeing coming out of Maya, and what you'd expect to see if you had sculpted that pose. That's sort of the normals that you would have gotten. That's happening. It gets a lot more of the expression out of voice than our previous solution. You'd expect to see that. We used a new feature called Anim Dynamics that was originally developed for characters in Paragon. This is used for the ponytail hair of Senua. It's basically it's just a faster way of doing physics that doesn't need to go through the full world simulation from a physics system that we used in the past. It's just a much more efficient way. Basically, it's just to have faster different physical bits that hang off. It doesn't need to go through the full world. We added a new twist corrective node that was used for morph target correctives on the neck shape. It was getting really kind of like bendy looking before, and now we added these new scan corrective shapes that were based on the detected amount of twist that was happening from one bone to the next. Similarly, we added a new option to something that already existed before called the bone drive controller. Similar to the twist controller I just mentioned, this is calculating the amount of bend from one bone shape to another, and we use this to drive the folding of the creases in her similar to the twist controller I just mentioned. This is calculating having a live performance adds a lot of amount of error that needs to be compensated for folding that we wouldn't have typically had because in this case we had a pre-canned camera but a live performance error that needs to be compensated, where that performance ended up every time was slightly different enough that it would be outside the frame of the camera. But these shots here, she could be live almost halfway off screen. You wouldn't be seeing what the intended performance was. So we wrote a smart camera system that would try to keep her face framed at all times to match what the original intention of the shot was. For the ending bit of the performance, this became to be so sensitive that we had a different solution that triggered just from these last moments. The framing was so tight and the depth of field was so sensitive, so exacting that we needed to have just her eyes and her nose to be in focus, where if it was just slightly a few inches off, the framing was so tight and she would be out of focus. To do this, we locked the camera transform relative to the head bone, which did mean that there was a bit of kind of camera jostling movement as she moved around, but it meant that we could keep her in focus. To do this, we locked the camera transform. Next, I'll talk a bit about the look development and rendering features that we developed to get Senua to look like she does. I thought I would show. Next, I'll talk a bit about the look development and rendering features that we developed to get Senua to look like she does. I just thought I would show what her performance looks like in engine with a clean face without the paint on it, just to see there's a lot of little details that you see in just tiny little changes in I just thought I would show what are showing wrinkles around her eyes that you can't necessarily see in the full face as the camera's moving just to see there's a lot of little details that you see in tiny little changes in I just thought I would show what are showing wrinkles around her eyes that you can't necessarily see in the full face. So first up, we focused on getting the skin to look right. A lot of the data that we got from 3Lateral from their scan process gave us a ton to work with. The textures that we had a really high resolution, the normals had a lot of detail in them. Getting the skin to look right. It was important for us to get the color to be correct and balanced properly to be the right intensity. And to do that, we matched that up to photo reference. What we did not have data for is specular reflectance and roughness data. For that, we took it off of measurements we found from literature as far as how different regions are as far as the specularity across the face. What we did not have data for here's an example of comparing an EXR that was taken from the photo shoot to the reconstructed version of that face within the engine. We wanted to make sure that the color and specularity was all right, that the sizes and irises, pupils, all those types of things. We wanted to make sure that we got a match. I can suggest anybody else that is doing this, it's extremely important to have photo reference for anything that you're trying to achieve as far as photorealism. If you don't have what you're trying to shoot for as the real world example, there's no way that anybody else that is doing this. It's extremely important to have. To get the really small scale details with the face, we added a micro detail texture for tiling of the pore detail with the normal and roughness maps. We used a cavity map to darken down really small scale details with the recesses of the skin pores, and we fine-tuned the subsurface scattering curves to match our photo reference. Previously, with some of the characters that we worked on in Paragon, some of these details were, and we had the technology there, we were just quite a bit off as far as we were hitting based on what we could have found from reference. The subsurface scattering itself is a feature that's been in the engine for a while now. Recently with Paragon technology there optimizations where you need to be able to separate what the diffuse and the specular contribution are because you don't want to be doing any scattering of the specular. You only want to be scattering what the diffuse lighting was. Previously, we had those separated into RGB, and then in the alpha channel, we stored the specular amount and could be able to separate them that way. For performance reasons, we ended up switching to this different approach, which subsamples the diffuse and specular. For most skin examples, we found this not to matter, but it's relevant to something I'll get to in a little bit. For performance reasons, we really focused quite a bit on eyes for this demo because there's so much of her performance that comes through in the emotions just in her eyes, so much that humans focus on for eyes for a performance that it became really focused quite a bit on eyes for this demo. Because as far as geometry, there is a corneal bulge in the geometry. They aren't just eyeballs, aren't perfect spheres. We have a material that has controls for all sorts of different properties of the eye. Every one of them can be fine-tuned to try to match our photo reference. We calculate the refraction that happens as light rays pass through the cornea and hit the iris, so that you can get so that things don't look like they're really popping out of the eye. It looks like there's multiple layers of material there. The refraction that happens. We have an eye shading model that was recently added to the engine. Ideally, we would have used the screen space subsurface scattering for the sclera. But because of what I was previously mentioning, that we subsample the specular and having really sharp reflections for the wetness layer and on the cornea of the eye are a really kind of defining attribute of eyes. It would have lost quite a bit of detail if we would have been subsampling the specular calculations. So instead we used an energy conserving wrapped Lambert to really fake the subsurface that was happening there. works out pretty well. The caustics as light travels through the cornea and makes a caustic pattern on the iris are faked using a little bit of what's happening there with having a concave normal and raising the as lighting contribution to a power. Unfortunately, we don't have a normal map for irises themselves due to limited user buffer space, but unless you get really close with really extreme lighting directions, you mostly can't tell. We added a tear line, which is a separate piece of geometry that's coming on the bottom eyelid. This is a translucent surface. We use forward shading for this. Right now it's kind of an experimental feature within the engine, but it's available. Shadow maps aren't currently implemented on it, which became a problem. You see a lot of glowing on the inner corner of the eye, forward shading for this, light coming from the side. Added screen space ray traced shadows as just available. Much easier to implement version of shadows than trying to get shadow maps to be hooked up properly, but it solved the problem well enough. The eye shell, which is an extra shell of geometry that goes between the two eyelids and over the eyeball, that sits in place as the eye looks from one direction to the next. That eye shell just sits on top of it and doesn't move with the eyeball. It moves with the lid. An extra shell of this provides two things, one of which is shadowing information, just general light occlusion from the eyelids and the geometry around the eye. We've also had it hooked up to do blurring around the perimeter of this eye to integrate the eyeball better with flesh around the eye. Just general light occlusion from the eyelids. There is an additional piece of geometry at the tear duct to blend between the eyeball and the tear duct itself. This blends both the color and the normal to get a better integration there to there is an additional approximate that sort of connective tissue between the eyeball and the skin. So this is kind of showing all of the different components. Here's the full eye setup, and I'll just start removing piece by piece. This is it without the occlusion. This is it without the perimeter blurring in the skin. Here's without the tear line. This is kind of showing all of the different components. Now without that tear duct blend, I'll just start removing piece by piece. And finally, without using the eye shading model, this is using the default shading model instead. And comparing that now without lighting setup, you can see just how much goes into it. Now without that tear duct blend, here's one other example. And finally, full setup, that's without occlusion. That's without the blur, default shading model, without the tear line, and comparing without the tear duct blend, without refraction, in this case is turned off, now without the eye shading model, example, back to the full setup, that's without occlusion. Some other kind of minor things that are in here, the eyelashes are using our new hair shading model. It's a really minor case, but refraction used her actual hair doesn't use our hair shading model. It's not clean hair, it's really dirty, matted, kind of dreadlocks. Some other kind of minor things that are in here, the eyelashes are using our new hair look from really just the regular shading model. Her actual hair. But it's worth mentioning our hair shading because many characters will have clean, kind of normal looking hair. This was added for our Paragon characters. We use a shading model that's an approximation of the same one used by Weta. That's a reference to that research paper. This approximates multiple different lighting scattering events within a hair strand and within as a whole. It does both reflections off of the front of the strand, transmission directly through the strand, transmission through the front of the strand to reflect off the back and then transmit back through the front again. Those will give you both a non-colored highlight and a colored highlight, transmission directly. And then finally, we've got a very rough approximation for multiple scattering, which is kind of approximating the amount of absorption throughout the light path as it goes through a whole mass of hair instead of just an individual strand. And as a whole, we get the sort of hair shape. For the geometry of hair, we used alpha masked cards instead of a bunch of individual layers. We just don't have the geometry budget to do instead of just hairs on a head as individual strands. These are opaque which works well with our deferred shading architecture. It uses a feature in the engine called dither opacity mask, which is a form of temporal dithering. When combined with temporal AA, it gives us a cheap form of order-independent translucency, which works well with our deferred shading architecture. The fur on Cinema was using a similar sort of approach with the dithered opacity mask. Instead of using the hair shading model, we used Subsurface, which we could have made some modifications to hair, which we'll probably do in the future that would be a good fit for this. But the fur, we got some decent results just using the old Subsurface opacity mask. Finally, the last thing is cloth shading, which was used a bit on Senewa, but we could have used quite a bit more on our Paragon characters. This gives ability to be able to put a fuzz layer on, which pretty closely mimics how cloth works. Finally, the last pass it back over to you to close things out. On Senewa, but we could have used quite a bit more on gives ability to be able to put a fuzz layer on, which pretty closely mimics how cloth works. Finally, the last pass it back over to you to close things out.
So the technology that was brought together for this demo, it's there to support really a creative intent, to make you feel like you've looked into the soul of a character that feels alive. And I think over the next few years it's going to become increasingly difficult for the layman to see the qualitative difference between pre-rendered CGI and real-time CGI. And this is especially true in VR, where we would expect humans, virtual humans, whether AI-driven or human control, perhaps human control with sparse-rated CGI, to be as believable as they are in real life. This is especially true in VR. So we've made some massive strides forward, where we would expect there's a long way to go still, but I've been really proud to be part of this kind of collaboration. So I'd like to thank everyone that's been involved. And just to end, it'd be good to show you the pre-rendered, not the pre-rendered, the offline version of the same trailer, but still running in real time. Really proud to be part of this kind of collaboration. So I'd like to thank everyone that's been involved. And just to end, it'd be good to show you the pre-rendered, not the pre-rendered, the offline version of the same trailer, but still running in real time.
You can't put it into words. A moment when you look into the eyes of the one who is supposed to reassure you, make you feel safe. You can't put it into words. It only takes an instant. Fear swallows you before you have a chance to make sense. When you look into the eyes of the one who is supposed to reassure you, becomes a part of who you are. It only takes an instant. Fear swallows you before you have a chance to make sense. When you look into the eyes of the one, and darkness becomes a part of who you are. Cinema knows that there is no going back. It only takes an instant. Fear swallows you before you have a chance to make sense. When you look into the eyes of the one, and darkness
their gods can see into your mind.
who you are.
Use this power to destroy me.
They won't stop me. I can still feel it.
Whatever's left of him, they will never let him go.
You're not gonna let him rot here!
You're the one who rots into your hand.
Leave me alone!
You will die here,
No!
and all your suffering will have been for nothing. They will never let him go.
You're not gonna let him rot here!
You're the one who rots into your hand.
Leave me alone!
You will die here,
No!
and all your suffering will have been for nothing. They will never let him go.
Find him! Let him rot here!
You're the one who rots into your hand.
Leave me alone!
You will die here,
No!
and all your suffering will have been for nothing. They will never let him go.
Find him! Let him rot here!
You're the one who rots into your hand.
Leave me alone!
You will die here,
No!
and all your suffering will have been for nothing.
Find him! Let him rot here!
You're the one who rots into your hand.
Leave me alone!
You will die here, and all your suffering will have been for nothing.
Hey everybody.
What's happening?
Hey, welcome back to the Unreal Engine live stream. I'm Alexander Pascal. Hey everybody.
What's happening?
Hey, welcome back to the Unreal Engine live stream. I'm Alexander Pascal. Hey everybody.
What's happening?
Hey, welcome back to the Unreal Engine live stream. I'm Alexander Pascal. Hey everybody.
What's happening?
Hey, welcome back to the Unreal Engine live stream. I'm Alexander Pascal, your Unreal Engine community manager. Joining me today, Sam Dieter and Yannick Lang. Did I say your last name right? Everybody.
No, yeah.
Oh.
Say your last name.
My name is Yannick Lang.
Hey everybody. Okay.
You can
Wow, not even
say it
close.
Dutch enough.
Not even vaguely close. Community manager. Wow, that's my American education for you. All right, yeah. Today we're talking about VR stuff and coalesce and all that. But
My name is
first,
Yannick
it's
Lang.
the news. Okay.
You can
Wow.
say
Wow, not even
say it
close.
Dutch
Not even vaguely. All right. So first things that's my first. I'm sure American that some of you perhaps heard. We have opened up today we're talking publishing office in Berlin, Germany.
My name is
The news. Yeah, we've been getting but it's pretty exciting. We have 2 people there so far, and also we have opened up today we're talking publishing office in Berlin, Germany.
My name is
The news. Yeah, we've been getting but it's pretty exciting. We have 2 people there so far, and also we have opened up today we're talking publishing office in Berlin, Germany.
My name is
The news. Yeah, we've been getting but it's pretty exciting. We have 2 people there so far, and also it's pretty exciting. We have 2 people there so far, and
僕でストリーム配信してますけど一人しかいないけど僕でストリーム配信してますけどストリーム配信したら簡単に笑わないと大変だなストリーム配信してますけど簡単に笑わないと
You know, please take a look at our careers page. If you go to epicgames.avature.net/careers, which I'll also put into the YouTube description of this after the fact, and I'm going to put it into the Twitch chat now.
Or you could just Google,
You know,
or you can just,
it'll just show up. It's like the first thing if you go to Epic Games. But it's really cool. We got a whole bunch of new jobs open, and we actually have a ton of careers in here that we're always looking for people for. So please come in and apply. Shelly.
or you can just
Oh, ha! I was like, Shelly, what are we looking at here? It's really cool. I'm helping. Thank you, Shelly. We actually have a ton of careers in here that are next up, East Coast Game Conference is coming up. It's in our backyard. It is right over here. Shelly, what are we looking at here? I'll be going, I think, like half of Epic.
I'm actually giving 2 talks there. VR performance talk, and then another
East Coast Game
VR and locomotion, some other stuff
It's in our
with
backyard.
Lewis. And I are going to be doing a mechanic talk there. Next day, like 9 in the morning, I get to do a talk on VR performance. My talk is called Make Your Content Like It's 1999.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it's good to make it like super performant.
Yep.
Yeah, alright, cool. So if you have not yet, if you're going to be anywhere near the East Coast, on the 19th, you've got to check this out. It's going to be me, everybody's going to be there. Super performant. If you want to go ahead and register, do it now because the prices are going to go up on the 17th at 5. So you've got like 3 days until the prices jump up massively. So please go on ahead, register, come on, you know, meet everybody, say hi to me, you know, we'll all hang out. Super duper fun. So yeah, that's that. Please come on out. Alright, so some of you may have been checking out all of the new stuff that came out with our Vive dev grants, and I'm just like super stoked about this, that people are posting online about when they get them, and what they've actually been doing with them. So we've got a few here, like PC University has already received theirs and is using it. The turnaround time on these Vive dev grants has been really fast, because it's really easy for us to just say, okay, Valve, like, shoot one out. Because we don't have them here, we just tell them doing this in the mouth. So we've got a few here, like PC University has already received theirs. The turnaround time is telling Vive dev grants like the thing. But yeah, please go to go to apply for dev grants if you're interested. Because we don't have PC University using theirs. We've got Fran Boot already posting about how they got theirs. And then Chris Robertson got his, so so you can work on his mana stuff. So yeah, congratulations to everybody who got one. These are just a handful of people that kind of came into my field of view that I saw were talking about theirs that they got already. Again, turnaround time, super cool, fast, so go on ahead, start applying. Apply again if you made new updates. Everybody, they're still going through the log of them. Basically, we made announcements and then we got flooded. And so, like, the earlier, there is a backlog that they're still going through, but it was, they're trying to make this like a super fast turnaround. So again, go back and everybody, they're still going through the log of them. Basically, all right, on to Community Spotlight. First up, though, got to go over here and talk about the Answer Hub, Sages, and everyone who's going to be getting an Answer Hub badge. You hit F5 for me right now. All right, on to there we go. So every week we talk about the top 3 karma earners on Answer Hub and talk about the Answer Hub, cool, and then I give them badges. Getting an Answer Hub badge. Cool. So we have Kylie or Kyle. I don't know which one it is, but you got one last week, but congratulations on being #1 this week. Clean Cut is #2. You're brand new. I've never seen Clean Cut before, so awesome job, good work. And Ryan John 2040, congrats again. You were also on last week, but you've kept up your karma, so good work. We have a bunch of other people on here too. They came pretty close. Awesome job, really awesome work. And Ryan, what you guys are doing out there, so please, congrats. Keep it up, keep being competitive on it, because get your badges and all your karma. Good job. We have a bunch of other people on here too. They came pretty close. Shelly's talking in chat, so there we go. So, please, congrats. For our community spotlight on it, the Odin plugin by Benjamin Smith. This actually just went live, I believe he said to me earlier. He sent me a message about it, but I had already planned on spotlighting this project while it was in development. It's the Odin track plugin. So this thing is a kind of combination of source control, project management stuff, some service stuff. But oh, here you go. You can see task tracker, capture tool, time tracker, setting custom templates, flow builder stuff. It's pretty neat, and it's got a project management stuff, some service stuff. It's got a lot of like really cool new features and all that. Capture tool. So it's got his estimated prices up now, but again, these are some really cool features. It's going to have a basic one for free, so that's really cool, and I highly recommend checking out this whole thread about what all it's going to be able to do. It's already been implemented. What the plans for the future are. Very good work. Again, nice stuff. Benjamin Smith. This is pretty prolific of a plugin here. Highly recommend checking out this. Wait, which one?
That right there.
This thing? Oh, okay. This is plans for. Yeah, this is very yeah. All right. Pretty prolific. Next up, I had to go into what was the website you sent me to, Shelley? Howtopronounce.com. So according to that website, I'd like to say awesome job to Orpheus LF Thoreau. That's how it told me to pronounce it, and I'm going with either technology has failed me or whatever. I'm sorry if that's how to pronounce it. So according to that website, pretty sure Orpheus is correct. Orpheus has made a bunch of very cool tutorials on his website. And very nice. They've got inventory system for C++. I'm sorry, implementing AI hearing, using real motion graphics with C++, handling animation. It's a lot of very good stuff to get you started in various kinds of mechanics. Inventory system for C++. Yes. It's very good AI, code heavy, very good resources if you're trying to learn graphics, how to program, etc. So, again, Orpheus, super cool stuff. Get you started in various kinds. Really appreciate anyone who's making tutorials. And as long as I'm saying I appreciate anyone who makes tutorials, if you are someone who's making tutorials or know someone who makes a lot of really cool programs, please share them with me. You can reach out to me on Twitter, the forums, however you want to reach out to me. Let me know that there's something cool that you'd like me to have highlighted. I do have like a small log of like a backlog now of things. So I would really like to keep that up where I can kind of schedule it.
You're gonna keep it all back.
Yeah, I like to have like a large list of stuff so that I don't have to kind of. It's nice to be able to know the community is bringing them to me instead of me going up there randomly grabbing people. So I would really like to keep that up. So it's just cool to have scheduled all that feedback. So please, again, I'd like to send it all out. A large good work list of stuff so that I don't have to. All right. Next up, I think a lot of people actually sent me this one. Was check out what I was doing. It's the Eden project. This is procedural planets in UE4, and it kind of uses. All right. I'm gonna probably next up Brundoi, right? I think a lot of people. So it kind of uses sort of a similar system to that. Check out what I was. Random kind of breakdowns of planet shape, and then it smooths it out. And it kind of uses, been developing it out. There you go. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And it creates these kind of cool risk maps, so it kind of uses civilization kind of maps. Very, very neat. Random kind of breakdowns of planet shape, and then it smooths it out. And it kind of uses, been developing it out. There you go. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And it creates these kind of cool risk maps. So it kind of uses civilization kind of maps. Very, very neat. Random kind of breakdowns of planet shape, and then it smooths it out. Developing it out. There you go. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And it creates these kind of cool risks. Kind of use civilization kind of maps. Very, very neat. Random breakdowns of planet shape, and it smooths it out. Developing it out. There you go. So you can kind of see what that looks like. And it creates these kind of cool risks. Kind of use civilization kind of maps. Very, very neat. Random breakdowns of
教団の人が作ったやつありましたよね。ジュリアスか。あれオフラインで使えますね。ただもう手つけてもない感じしました。全然メンテナンスしないんで、はい、全然わかんないです。入れたんですね。ジュリアスか。あれオフラインで使えます。ただ多分もう手つけてもない感じ。サポートしない。全然メンテナンスしないんです。でもあれはオフラインで多分入れて結構それなりにでも日本ですけどね。オープンソースですね。ライセンスは持っておかないか。そのコンテストはミッドライセンス的なやつだったら MIT ライセンス的なやつだったらライセンスは OK。モディファイ公開コンテストはミッドライセンス的なやつだったら MIT ライセンス的なやつだったら OK 使える。いやー音声認識とモディファイ公開コンテストはミッドライセンス的なやつだったら MIT ライセンス的なやつだったら OK 使える。録音再生画像認識はやったことありますけど、音声認識はちょっとアルゴリズム1からアルゴリズムというかシステム1から構築する感じですよね。音っていうか、っていうか画像認識はやったことありますけど、音声認識はちょっと文章の形態数の音版みたいなの力を構築する感じです。文章の形態数の音版みたいなのを使う。オフラインでってことですね。わかんないですけど、アメリカには天才がいて、自分で車ハッキングしてオートドライブ作っちゃう人いるんで、はい、いるので、できなくはないと思います。ただ天才に一部の天才にしかできない車ハッキングしてオートドライブ作っちゃう人いるんで、はい、いるのでできなくはないと思います。ただ天才ですよ。 最近ステレオカメラでなんかオープスティッチみたいなの作った人たちも公開してないんですけど、レッドとかいうやつもステレオでオートスティッチでステレオカメラみたいなやつをなんか自分たちのステレオを作ってた人を公開してるんですよ。言ってもいいしどうなんだってありましたね。あ、売ってんだな。カメラも2000年ぐらいするんですけど、なんかそれから作ってもらうのを公開してるんですよ。売ってもいいしどうなんだってありましたね。今変わってんだなって思いますけど、カメラも2000年ぐらいするんですけど、それから僕の知り合いは南カリフォルニアの大学に来たんですけど、そこでSSH の開発メンバーの一人が講師でデータベースの知り合いが南カリフォルニアが書いてたらしいですけど、ベビーの作りましょう。SSH 作れば仕組みが分かるから作ったらしいです。データベースでその人はオラクルに就職してるんですけど、オラクルの話ですけど、日本じゃなくて海外US の US 作れば仕組みが日本の事業者が作ったらしいです。その人が提供して作ったんですか。インド人とコンサルターらしいですけど、インド人全然やってくれないです。一人で作った。行きましたけど、イエローキャンプになりましたけど、信用できないです。正直。人によりきりなんで、カンファレンスであったら、インド生まれの人がしてくれたらすげえ来たけど、イエローキャンプになりましたね。人によりきりなんだろうけど、正直のインド人はちょっと信用できない。人によりきりなんで。カンファレンスであったら、インドの人生まれの人がしてくれたらすげえ来たけど、イエローキャンプになりましたね。正直のインド人はチベットとか中東のまさにイエローキャンプの時そんなやつでしたぼったくられました小銭もなくて100ドルぐらい落ちたのハリウッドからまさにイエローキャンプの時そんなやつでした信用しないはずなのに70ドルぐらい落ちた小銭がなくてくそだ乗らなきゃよかったハリウッドからウーバーだったらもっと安いアメリカはウーバーで十分でしょう。ウーバーだったらもっと安い。何ですか？ですね。大丈夫ですか？いきなり本当です。金出す。ああ、そっか。それから普通にビジネスしているっていうか、普通にタクシー会社に一緒に逆に。普通にビジネスしているっていうか、タクシー会社に一緒に逆に。なんかこうしますね、多分。向こうのっていうか、日本人なので。普通にガリしている。私の知り合いのセルとかいるんですけど、みんなお腹壊してます。ダメですね。日本人綺麗なところに過ぎらしくて、ちょっとでも汚いみたいなす すぐできたら私の手話も見せるとかみんな同じ気がします。日本人綺麗な常に綺麗になっちゃいますから。億稼いでください。稼いでください。稼いで100万ドルって億ぐらいでした。100万ドルって億ぐらいでした。億円ぐらいです。いや、まあ、億でもミリオンぐらい。それはレベニューシェアってことですね。いいですね。レベニューシェアってことですね。サーバーサイドの人は何やってるんですか？僕もともとサーバーサイドなんですよ、出身は。サーバーサイドっていうか、いろいろやってますよ。僕、ユニティの大昔っていうか、ああいう統合開発環境のひな形になってもともとサーバーサイドなんですよ、出身。だから GUI でサーバーサイドだけやってますよ。実はやってますよ。GUI の Unity のプログラムから難しいブループリントに近い統合開発環境のすごいブループリント出てきてちょっと感動です。ここまで来たか。GUI でやってますよ。GUI のいや、一緒ですよ。線でつなぐのはブループリントに近い。入力と出力を線でつなぐのが出てきた。で、あとはブロックがファンクションですよ、いろんな。ファンクションとかメソッド、標準メソッドとか、ああいうのを発生しているメソッド入力と出力をする基本は。で、その仕組みが GUI とかだから、それはファンクションですよ。慣れないと、ファンクションとかメソッド、感覚がつかずにとか、ああいうのを発生しているメソッド入力と出力をする基本は。で、その仕組みが GUI とかだから、それはファンクションですよ。慣れないと、感覚がつかず時代のブループリントですよ。時代はアンリアルですよ。みたいな。アンチなことになってる。バンダイのやってる人に聞いたら、ブループリントで作るじゃないですか。物によってはブループリントで作るアンチでもパフォーマンスっていうか、ブループリントで作った方がシープラで作るやパフォーマンス出たりするっていう話はするんですけど、バンダイのやってる人にブループリントで作ると、物によっては人によってぐちゃぐちゃになっちゃっても、あれがないのかなと思いきや、ブループリントであるっていう話で、バンダイのやってる人にブループリントで作ると、人によってぐちゃぐちゃになっちゃっても、あれがないのかなと思いきや、ブループリントである。基本動きはいいと思うんですよ。で、動いて、で、個人じゃなくてグループ開発する場合は共有できるようになっちゃうっていうのが、 そうでもないかな。でもアセットサーバーメンテナンスしないって話だから、バージョン管理していけるんですよ。全くしちゃって、ユニティのそこら辺が更新しかできなくて、バージョン管理っていうか、世代管理はできるんだけど、ブランチ切ったりしないといけないんですけど、バージョンが全く新しくしなきゃいけなかったり、更新しかできなくて、それからアセレルサーバーというバージョン管理、ブランチ標準のツールがあるんですけど、ただ問題はそれができないから Git とか Git 使ってるんですけど、Git 使っててもこれまた厄介で、サーバーというバージョン標準のツールバージョンが変わるごとに、ただ問題はそれができないから Git すげえ慎重な話、それはアンギャルも一緒らしいんですけど、バージョンの代わり使っててもスピードがするだけ開発じゃバージョンどうかしらみたいなバージョンが変わるごとに商品のリリース直前になってバージョンそういう無理やりと一緒ですけど、バージョンの代わり使ってても一緒ですね。どこも一緒だし。商品のリリース直前になってバージョンそういうそこら辺彼らの連中はクリアしてるんだろうなと。何かしらのことがあるんですね。どこも一緒。グループ一人で見てたプルリプレイして自分にプルが出さないでリポジトリ切ってコメント書いて一人で見てたプルリプレイして自分にプルが出さないでリポジトリ切ってコメント書いて一人で私その練習ストリーム配信それで教育のやつがやるからまさにこのできたのがコンテンツみたいな私その練習ストリーム配信それで責任のやつがやるしようかなまさにこれでそのプレゼンができちゃうツイッターやられてるのであれば今ヒットボックスで出てる視聴者があれもいないですけど僕の分身ですね。15万っていうのを Unity で作りました。これは僕は新藤さんが公開した15万でこれ実は声も入ってストリーム配信した時に、今声変えてるんですけどちょっと変わった声で一人だけ悲しい現実を待ってます。では見て、パソコンでさえ一人だけが悲しい現実をムカつくだから。お正月だったからっていうのもあるんですけど、 しうまいですよって書いて、そこでされてる人がここだって言われるんですよ。ムカつくとか平日のこんな時間にみんな仕事してて、自分の仕事それどころじゃねえよ。時間的な問題だな。あくまでタイミングがあるんだな。平日のこんな時間にみんな仕事してて、自分の仕事それどころじゃねえよ。なんかまた来たとして、時間的な問題だな。これもストリーム配信されちゃったんですけど、タイミングがあるんだな。平日のこんな時間にみんな仕事してる。自分の仕事それどころじゃねえよ。で、今なんか VRC とか日本の方のワードでも、これもストリーム30日までかな。期限までアップですから、なんか賞金の出るやつやってますけど、まあ、去年から見てるのが VRC とか企業を属したやつしか多分入らないんですけど、30日まで期限までアップですから、全然なんか賞金の出るやつやってますけど、で優勝しても優勝が最近10万ですからしたりしかなんだそれっていうあれですよね、海外の学校に行っちゃうと。で優勝しても優勝が最近10万ですからしたりしかそうです。スペースにサミットブルースって言うんですけど、海外の学校あの人も投資受けて所長になってるんですけど、優勝しても優勝が最近10万ですからスペースに違いっていうんですけど、あの人も投資受けて所長になってるんですけど、優勝しても違うんですよ。人大事にしますよね。だってカーツはボロすぎるじゃないですかね。なんかもう使えなくなったらこういうのをしてるから、僕がもともといた業界にいて一人全然集まらないらしいです。カーツはボロすぎるじゃないですかね。なんかお金積んでも使えなくなったらこういうのをしてるから、僕がもともといた業界にいて一人全然集まらないらしいです。お金積んでもどうぞ使い捨てばっかりそれがもともといった業界に全然集まらないらしいです。最終的に僕ソフトバンク系というかソフトバンク系の経営の会社とか行ってましたけど、使い捨てばっかり一言気に入らないから帰るみたいなこと言ってくれて、最終的に僕ソフトバンク系というかソフトバンク系の経営の会社とか行ってましたけど、使い捨て一言気に入らないから二度と使うってあそこのアプリっていうかヤフー系のアプリはいろいろっていうか中にいたんで、あれ仕組んでるんですよ。OS が何をやってもスイーピングソフトがあってそれ入れてるんですよ。でオペレーションのたびにそのロジック追加してるので、何のオペレーションが仕組んでるんですよ。OS がオトマティックにどれだけっていうスイーピングソフトがあってそれ入れてるんですよ。でそれやってあんまりオペレーションの数に個人ロジック追加してるので、何のオペレーションが仕組んでるんですよ。だってオトマティック UI ってそういうのじゃないじゃないですか。UI っていうか画面遷移するそういうのじゃないじゃないですか。本当作ってたソーシャルアップみたいなのがあるんですけど、それは毎回 Web API を叩く感じで、おのずとそういう風になってたんで何やってるっていうのがリアルタイムで分かるんですけど、ただ負荷がかかるって毎回 Web API を作業を探しみたいな、おのずとそういう風になってたんで何やってるっていうのがリアルタイムで分かる。それ見て完成した時に飲みながら見てたんですけど、でなんかあまりに少ないので隣にした人が入ってきたんですけど、なんか今腕止まってるって 盛り上がってて、うちわで盛り上がりなくなるんですよ。それ見て完成した時にみんな見てたんですけど、でなんかあまりに好きなので隣にしてしまってそれでなんか盛り上がってうちわで盛り上がりなくなるんですよ。やっぱりプログラムとか完成した時にクラスタッチだったんですけど、あれが一番インパクト強いです。あれ自閉症の人とかもここで開くんですよ。それぐらいインパクトありますからね。クラスタッチだったんですけど、あれが自分のコンピューターの世界に自閉症の人とかもここで開くんですけど、他の人とインパクト合わせる訓練になるし、あれは感動的です。そういう感動がないとなんかそういう感動が欲しいですね。アプリとか人と人とやってそういう感動が欲しい。課金でとか考えてるんだ。そういう感動が欲しいですね。でも前やってたゲームのやつってゲームの未完成だから課金っていうかゲームのバランスめちゃめちゃ難しくして、課金しないと探すようにして頭おかしかったな。社長が40とかゲームの未完成って続くんで、僕はねゲームじゃんとか言われて難しくして課金しないと探すようにやめるわふざけんな。社長が40とか金持ってこない機会でそのゲーム最終的には黒字になったんですけど、よく考えてみて勤めていたイメージが向こうの人に君は海外行った方がいいよって言われて、今考えてみればあの時言ってればよかったなっていうね後悔してるんで、勤めていたイメージが少ないですけど、向こうの人に君は海外行った方がいいよございません。今考えてみればあの時言ってれば英語喋れるんだって分かってきた。仕事で使うのやっぱり英語喋れるんだってちゃんと勉強しないとってダメですよ。発声の用語っていうよりちゃんとビジネスで話せる仕事で使わないと多分これがブーでこれがブーでとかになっちゃうんで、発声の能力をちゃんとブーでこれがブーでビジネスで話せる僕が株にしちゃうんでバーンとかしてなくなってブーでこれがブーでとかになっちゃうんで、こういうことでしょとか言えないじゃないですか。君の言ってることはこういうことだよねとか確認が意思疎通ができなくなっちゃう。まあなんとかなるんですけどなんとかなりましたからね。ホームレスで行って言えないんだっつったら来いよっつって意思疎通ができなくなっちゃうっつってなんとかなりました。なんとかなりましたね。だからちょっとホームレスでカナダ人に会っちゃいました。来いよっつって意思疎通ができなくなっちゃうっつってなんとかなりました。だからちょっとホームレスでカナダ人に ちはどうしてるのって言ったら、いや、みんな仕事っつって、ああ、日本人だねって言ってました。友達はどうしてるのって言ったら、いや、みんな仕事っつって、ああ、日本人だねって言ってました。今は休職中ですね。直近で工場で働いてたんですけど、日雇いで人身事故がありまして、ものすごいのを見てしまいました。今は休職中ですね。ベルト工場で働いてたんですけど、で、人身物質がありまして、血が出てるのでトイレにずっと押しっぱなしで救急車来るまで。ベルト工場で、それでもライン動かそうとしてて、人身物質でグズったら自分で盗むように来たりしました。営業停止とかになってないし、多分警察届けてないですよね。警察来なかったし、翌日警察行って、それでもライン届けをしてて、でグズったら自分で盗むように来たりしました。営業停止とかになってないし、ちょうどゴールデンウィーク前なので雑誌の配送のところなんですけど、翌日警察に数こなさないと相手も分かってるんです。まあでも会議行く前なので LINE で働いてる人に喋れるからいいかなって経験があとライザップより痩せます肉体量ライザップ金払わなきゃいけないじゃないですか。金払わないで金もらって痩せますよあとライザップより痩せます肉体量ライザップ金払わなきゃいけないじゃないですか。肉体量眠くてしか痩せますよ。体を動かすので夜中とか働けないんですよ。ライザップより痩せます寝ちゃうんですよ。人間的な生活できるっちゃできない。よくわかんないけど体を動かすので夜中とか働けないんですよ。寝ちゃうんですよ。中国の生活でして工場ごと交差とかありました。数やらなきゃならないやつですか。材料ですか。あれ数やらなきゃペレットなんかちっちゃいつぶつぶですよね。材料ですか。あれそうなんですか。ちっちゃいつぶつぶですね。でも中国の精力的に強いんじゃないですか。中国人に助けてもらえば中国のマフィア正義党でこっちも精力的に人材みたいな中国人に助けてもらえばそしたら抜けられなくなっちゃうかもしれないけど正義党でこっちも精力的に人材みたいな中国人に助けてもらえばそしたらそっちの世界はあっちの世界抜けられなくなっちゃうかもしれないけどルール無視してくれるんでそしたらそっちの 強い味方をつけないとダメですね。実際働いてほしいなっていうのは3ヶ月くらい。昔は中国の方っていうか、まあ、働いてる人の中には、やっぱり逮捕者とかいるらしいですけど、っていうか、虫上がりの人がいるらしいですけど、まあ、昔は中国の方っていうか、まあ、働いてる人の中には、やっぱり逮捕者とかいるらしいです。会社自体がやってるんですけど、っていうか、虫上がりの人がいるらしいですけど、当番なんですけど、ヤクザですね。仕事を下ろす、会社自体がやるんです。仕事やるからとりあえずやるっていう感じがありました。と間に大英が入ってるんですけど、大英が、大英から直接大英にやるような形なんですけど、仕事やるからとりあえずやるっていう感じがありました。中はもう仕事する人しか仕事しない感じ。仕事する人しか仕事しない感じで、もう独特な世界なんですよ。ああいうところで。職人さんの世界でしか仕事しない感じ。仕事する人しか仕事しない。ゲーム開発のイメージの独特な世界なんです。優秀なチームは、優秀なチームは職人さんの世界でやってて、職人さんは、噂で聞いてるけど、その人たちが見たら全然黙らないところ知ってるし、チームの職人さんの世界でなんか日本で唯一それで Xbox のゲームを作ってるけど、全然黙らないところ人たちって書いたというか、優秀なチームがあったらしいんですけど、その人たちが遅くなかったんですよ。日本で唯一Xbox の技術でトンボを落とせてなかった人たちが出て入ったとかそうしたら何に対しますか。そうしたらそこは日本で唯一 Xbox の技術でトンボを落とせてなかったそうしたら何に対しますか。僕がストリーム配信したいのは GDC ですね。GDC があったんですけど、その中でアンリアルエンジンを使ったまさにFaceRigっていうか画像認識を使ったコンテンツを出すストリーム配信したいのは GDC ですね。GDC があったんですけど、その中でアンリアルエンジンこれで視聴してください違うFaceRig視聴するあれが方法がないですよ。これで視聴してください違う視聴するあれが方法がないですよ。これが GDC の様子チョコ教授の部屋。
こんにちは。チョコに詳しいチョコ教授です。今日の
development experience. And this is okay because game developers fundamentally are problem solvers. And with the source code, we give you all the tools you need to debug your game, fix any problems that occur, ship your games unblocked and without any dependencies on updates from Epic. We give you absolutely everything that we have ourselves when we go about developing our own game. Succeeds you need to play a gaming model that really frames per second. It's a medium and without any dependencies availability in Epic. We give you absolutely everything that we have ourselves when we go about developing our own game.
And you can see Nick has the power to kind of customize his workspace.
It's a medium and without any dependencies availability in Epic.
Just like this in Outline. Find this material in the content browser, and you can see Nick has the power to customize the material editor in VR.
That we had to run.
fraction of a profit. I think he's been really inspired by Oculus and their products, their vision, their people. Within the walls of Oculus, there are many of the industry's greatest luminaries, Carmack, Palmer Luckey, and Michael Abrash, and they're doing world-changing things there. And now I think I'd like to take a look at some new technology from Epic Games and some of our really close partners. And to walk you through this, I'd like to introduce Tim LeBaron, CTO of Epic Games. World-changing things there. And now I think I'd like to take a look at some new technology from Epic Games and some of our really close partners. To walk you through this, I'd like to introduce Tim LeBaron, CTO of Epic Games.
You killed him. Her world changed that day when the Northmen took him from her. Senua knows that there is no going back to how things were, that there is nothing to go back to at all. Her world changed that day.
Their gods can see into your mind. They will use this power to destroy you.
Knows that there is no going back to how things were.
Whatever's left of him, they will never let him go.
I'm not gonna let him rot here.
You're the one rotting to your heart. You will die here.
No.
And all your suffering will be for nothing.
Shut up!
They will never let him go.
I'm not gonna let him rot here.
You're the one rotting to your heart. You will die here.
No.
And all your suffering will be for nothing.
Shut up!
They will never let him go.
I'm not gonna let him rot here.
You're the one rotting to your heart. You will die here.
No.
And all your suffering will be for nothing.
Shut up!
And cut.
Who said that?
So if you look on that side of the stage, you'll see that Melina, our actress, has just performed the entire scene live in real time from within the Hellblade world.
Quiet!
So if you look on that side of the stage, you'll see that Melina, our actress, has just performed the entire scene live in real time from within the Hellblade. So this is a pretty amazing technology.
Quiet!
It meant that as a director I could set up the scene and have full control over things like lighting and cameras and the effects. So if I want to add fire to the scene, I can just go, let there be fire. This is pretty amazing technology.
Whoa, turn that off, turn that off.
It meant that as a director I could set up the scene. And then the power of this means that we can tune the performance to the scene without having to see without any green screen inside. It's pretty incredible stuff.
Turn that off, turn that off.
And so this has a lot of implications for things like previs that we can tune games, but also previs for movies without any green screen. So if you imagine something like animated movies especially, they normally take hours to render implications for things like
We'll talk about this.
So if you imagine something like animated movies especially, they normally take hours beautiful singing voice, beautiful. So, but I don't think previs is the end goal. I mean, previs is incredibly useful, immediate use of this technology, but with the quality...
And anybody who's similar to how fire effects, this could be an entirely new camera, an entirely new facial
But I don't think previs
you start to get an idea of
the previs
how
is incredibly useful, immediate use of this technology, but with the quality...
and anybody who's similar to how fire effects, this could be an entirely new camera, an entirely new facial
But I don't think previs
you start to get an idea of how similar to how fire effects, this could be an entirely new camera, an entirely new facial you start to get an idea of how
これをステアでやると、三角速度の容量で立体が起こせるという仕組みですよ。おそらく。これをステアでやると、三角速度の容量で立 大丈夫ですよ。多分カメラって CPU の処理性能だと思うんです。画像を解析っていうか、まあ、やってましたけど、大丈夫ですよ。多分カメラって CPU の処理性能自分が知ってましたけど、仮想現実はい、ありますね。忘れた。ああ、これもか。はい、ありますね。軽かってますね。忘れた。ああ、あれみたいな。ああ、新人みたいな。プロのダンサーの振り付け、モーションとか入れて。お高いんじゃないですか。プロのダンサーの振り付け、先行投資を俺にはできない。俺だったら手付けしちゃうんだよ。お高いんじゃないですか。プロのダンサーの振り付け、先行投資を俺にはできない。俺だったら手付けしちゃう安い人が。ズームって言われても僕多分最近の歌手ですね。30年前ですか。前くらい多分最近の歌手ですね。ごめんなさい。あのテレビ見ないです。すごいですね。多分芸能人です。